Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki, Jai Nitai Go, Premanandi, Hari Hari Go. Wow. Should give that one to Prabhupada, that's really nice. It's nicer than the one he's wearing. Give it to him. Yes, sir. Prabhupada can wear it too. Yeah. Give the nicest one to Prabhupada. Yeah. Actually, there was a time there's one temple Prabhupada was visiting, and the temple was quite poor. So they're making garlands for Prabhupada every day while he's visiting, but they weren't making garlands for the deity. And Prabhupada insisted that they make garlands for the deities. So it's generally a practice that, like, you always give the nicest offerings to the superior person. So even if we might have our own spiritual master visiting, we would never offer our spiritual master a garland that is better than what we're offering to Prabhupada. Because otherwise he might feel uncomfortable about that. Well, here I am, I've got something better than Srila Prabhupada. And the same as Prabhupada, he always felt uncomfortable if the deities didn't have nice garlands and he was wearing a nice garland. So it's just a basic point of etiquette. And deity worship is very much about etiquettes and knowing what are proper etiquettes and how to respect superiors and things like that. Because a lot of what we're doing when we worship the deity, just for instance, who here does deity worship at home? And you do simple or elaborate sort of worship? Fairly simple. Anyone does elaborate worship at all? Okay, so, no? Anyone does elaborate deity worship at home, or, There's many different descriptions of deity worship given. Generally in ISKCON we follow the descriptions that are given by Sanatana Goswami in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, especially what's in the 11th Vilas. And in the 11th Vilas, he offers different lists. There's these things. Do you know what upachar means? You know the word upachar? That's upakar. Upachar. Upachar. Means an item. Means an item of worship. Yeah. So Sanatana Goswami he gives lists of 5 upachars, 10 upachars, 16 upachars, and 64 upachars. So in the list of 16 upachars, when it starts off with there's 4 basic categories. That there's receiving, reception, and then there's bathing and dressing, and then after bathing and dressing there's worship, basic worship, and then at last there's the concluding activities. Everything we do is concluding activities. Like when we offer arati, there's concluding activities. You offer, after you've blown the conch, then you offer prayers to the deities. Sometimes we see devotees, they'll offer the prayers or before, like they'll offer pranams like this to the deities before they blow the conch, but actually that's after the conch. So it's important to know the proper order. But anyhow, when we offer what is called Sodasa Upachar Puja, you understand Sodas? 16, yeah. So Sodas Upachar Puja means to worship the deity with 16 items of worship. So when we do that, the reception, that's the beginning. The saintly person or the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes, what do? What's the first thing we offer them? So, okay, that's good. I mean, that's definitely one of the items, but are they going to do that standing up? We offer them a seat. That's the first thing you do. And we see, the story of the Brahmin and the cobbler. You know the story when Narad Muni, he visited a Brahmin, he visited the cobbler? What was the first thing the cobbler offered to Narad Muni? A seat. He offered him a place to sit down. And he didn't have much, so he just cleaned a place under the tree and he asked him to sit down. So it can be very simple. But the point is the respect. Is a saintly person or the Lord's come and you offer them a seat. It's the first thing you offer. Then the next thing that comes after that is? Water. One more thing before water. Kind of. Swagatam, suswagatam. You're very welcome. Please stay here. The idea is, it's like even when you do an installation, like you might install a pot, you might install a deity, the first thing you say is, please sit down, please stay. You want the Lord to stay there to receive your worship. So if you're not nice to him, he won't stay. Yeah? So the first thing we do is when the Lord comes is we offer him nice prayers, glorifications. There's so many different prayers you can offer to the Lord, just glorifying him. And then the next thing we offer after, so we got asan, swagata, then padya, very good. Yeah, padya. We offer water for washing the feet. And that water can just be plain, cool water. It can have water with all different types of kusha grass and cracked rice and barley and all these different, have so many different things in it. You can have flowers in it. So many nice things you can make. You can make it very pleasing for the Lord. You can put nice scents in it, things like that. So, and we use that for bathing his feet. Then, so we've got asan, swaga, padya, then comes? Arghya. Does anyone know what arghya means?
To wash the hands. Some sweet or something like that?
No. Good guesses. All good guesses, and they are relevant. Arghya. Huh? So there's a mantra, and this is probably where you get it's argham hastayo. It means you offer to the hands, but you offer to the hands. Why? So he can sprinkle it on his own head. It's not for washing the hands. Yeah? It's actually considered. It's described in different places as being water for reception. Yeah, and even there's a place in the Krishna book when Krishna is returning to Dwarka. And then the Brahmins, they come, and with Prabhupada says, arti water for reception. So he's sort of giving it away in the arti as well, is actually the water we offer in the arti. Many people think it's like for bathing the deities, but actually it's water for receiving the deities. Yeah? Because the arti is also a form of reception. And so after the arghya, and the arghya can have all sorts of, it can have sandalwood paste in it, it can have different types of grains in it, and the grains you crack them so that the essence of the grain goes into the water. Can have sacred, like auspicious grass, so many different things you can put in arghya. Yogurt, milk, all types of things. And all auspicious ingredients, because arghya is considered to be something very auspicious. And in one place, I think it might be in the Kartik Mahatmya, I don't remember because a long time ago I read it, it's defined as being the best type of reception you can offer someone. So if you have someone who's cultured, they come to your house and you offer them reception, they'll understand, oh, this is very nice, I've been well received. And they'll feel very comfortable. And it's just like, does anyone here ever participate in weddings? Like either, obviously some of you got married, so you probably went through a wedding ceremony, but also when you do this, the ceremony, is you offer arghya to the groom. The father will, the bride's father will offer arghya to the groom. And then as part of the ceremony, the father, he says, please accept, I can't remember the mantra right now, but then the groom, he responds, I have been well received. So it's part of culture. And then after arghya comes Achaman. What's Achaman? Water to what? Not really for drinking, for rinsing the mouth out. Also, Achaman can also refer to washing the hands and washing the feet. Sometimes we see it's used, or the face. It's used in different ways. But essentially, it is pure water which got fragrance in it. You can put things like ground nutmeg and cloves, just a small amount, because you don't want to have all these sticky things in your teeth, or all these things stuck between your teeth, sorry. Then it can also have something called coca berry in it. Coca berry is like a little berry about this big, black, very, very strong smell, very nice smell. You grind that up, you put a little bit of that in there also. Also, according to Sridhar Swami, it can have things like jasmine flowers in it. Just, very, the idea is to make it look attractive as well as taste nice, etc. And so the deity will take that and he'll sip that and rinse his mouth out, then spit it out. I mean, they generally don't swallow it. And it's just to leave a pleasant taste in the mouth. Because, sometimes when a person's come to visit you, then usually the idea is they've come from some distance. They might have travelled over dusty roads, or, it's like here, I went for a walk yesterday to finish my round, so I went down to the main road down there and I walked down towards that direction. And some of the smells were quite unpleasant. So it's like those smells, those aromas will settle on the palate. So when a guest arrives, you give them this nice arghya water to rinse the mouth, and it leaves a pleasant taste in the mouth. Yeah? So it's good like that. It's also considered an item of reception. Next item, anyone know? It's got lots of honey in it. Madhupark, yeah. Madhuparka. Madhupark consists of milk, yogurt, ghee, honey, little sugar, little water. And usually, like, different authorities give different ratios for making madhupark, but generally, madhu means honey. Generally, it's mostly honey. Sridhar Swami says 4 times honey to the other ingredients, so it should have a lot of honey in it. And also a very, very small amount of ghee, 1 or 2 drops of ghee, not much. Sometimes you see devotees, they put ghee in, it's like, because it goes hard, you've got this layer of ghee across the top, and it's not very palatable. And the idea with the madhupark is it's a very opulent type of foodstuff that you will offer to a guest. And usually what they do is they just put these 2 fingers and the thumb in it, they dip in it, and they just flick a few drops into the mouth. It's not like you drink a lot of it, because there's so much honey, it's very rich and it can be a little bit burning on the throat. And then, so this is considered to be a very, very high-class foodstuff that when a guest is coming or something like that, then you'll offer this to them. Then the last thing we offer in the reception is Purna Archaman. Means offer Archaman. Purna means again. Like Purna Janmanda Vidyate, you don't take birth again. So it means again offer Archaman. And the reason we do that is because Krishna or the guest has got some madhupark in the mouth, a little bit of honey, so it means there's stickiness in the mouth. And if you have like things like honey and stuff in the mouth or sugar or whatever, it can cause decay on the teeth. It'll attract the bacteria that eats your teeth. So it's very good to rinse your mouth out after you have honey and things like that. Actually, we should rinse our mouth after we eat or drink anything. Always rinse out with water. It's recommended at least 3 times. Sometimes they say 10 times. But the idea is you rinse your mouth thoroughly so there's nothing in your mouth. Otherwise this can cause decay and other problems. And also you might have noticed sometimes when people are talking to you and they've just eaten a meal, or they're eating and they're talking, generally you're not supposed to eat while you talk while you eat. Because what happens? Especially if they get excited. Little bits of food start to spray all over the person they're talking to. Very, very unclean. It's almost the same as spitting on someone. Yeah? It's accidental, but it's the same result, because things are coming out. Because the mouth is considered quite unclean. In Vedic culture, the mouth is quite unclean. Merle, can you do me a favour? In the room on the sideboard thing, there's that box of oils. That key there. Thanks. So when you talk, you make sure the mouth is rinsed out thoroughly, so that there's no that's the idea. It's not just like a cursory just rinse the mouth. The idea is to rinse your mouth so efficiently that there's no food left in your mouth. And this has many good effects. It means you're not going to get decay, because if there's little drops of food left in there sitting on the teeth, it's going to cause decay, because the bacteria will come and reside in that, and it'll corrode your teeth. And then also when you're talking to people, you're not spraying them with your remnants. It's okay. You may consider it's Mahaprasad, but they may not consider it like that. So it's all part of culture, and deity worship is about learning culture. It's one of the main points of deity worship, and it's the culture of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like we're describing these 7 items, the reception items. This is like when the Lord comes. This is the first thing you do. You should receive Him. You offer Him a place to sit. You offer Him sweet words. You encourage Him to stay. You bathe His feet. Because I don't know if have you ever had anyone here ever had their feet washed by someone? It's quite a nice experience. Very cooling, refreshing. You feel refreshed afterwards. So thanks, Prabhu. So it's quite a good experience. We used to actually do it when I first started the training in Mayapur. We would have a foot bathing ceremony just to and actually do the whole reception. I mean, usually we do it for Pankajani because Janani Vas would never do it. I tried to convince him he just wouldn't do it. Pankajani, he'll try anything out. He's pretty liberal like that. So. And just like then get him to give feedback of what it felt like, And so when the Lord comes, we sit him down, we bathe his feet, and it's nice, but it's refreshing. And then of course we take the remnants of it and we sprinkle on our heads. Then you offer argya to say, I'm very happy you're here. I'm offering this water for reception on your head. And when you offer the argya, you can either sprinkle it on their head or you can offer it to their hands. This is where this mantra argyam hastyo comes from. Samapayami is because you offer it to the hand. It doesn't mean it's hand wash. Just because you give something to the hand of a person doesn't mean they wash their hands with it. Then after that, archman for rinsing the mouth, so the mouth is fresh, nice taste. Then we offer them auspicious food, and then again we offer water to rinse their mouth. And the idea behind this is like we're receiving a person, we're helping them to feel welcome. We're helping the Lord to feel, or the distinguished person to feel like they're really welcome. So it's like whenever you have guests in your home, or whenever you have guests in the temple, try to consider these elements of the culture and how to make the guests feel like they're really welcome. Because there's this whole concept in Vedic culture called Atiti Bhagavan. You familiar with this? It means like when a guest turns up, especially Atiti means the unexpected guest. Yeah. You don't want to say unwelcome. Guests are always welcome. And even we see interesting story. Is in Kurukshetra, when the battle was going on, and it was still during the Bhishma Parva, when Bhishma had made this vow he was going to kill all the Pandavas, and he put aside 5 arrows for that purpose. So then Krishna knew about this. He didn't need spies, he just knew. And so he told Arjuna, you go and see Duryodhana, because Duryodhana had the arrows for safekeeping, and you ask him for these arrows. And so strong was this culture of Atiti Bhagavan that when Arjuna, who was during the day the enemy, went to the camp of Duryodhana, he received him like a distinguished guest. He was so happy to see him. He offered him a seat. He offered him everything. And they said, yes, my dear Arjuna, what can I do for you? He said, if you want the kingdom, I'll give it to you now. I said, no, we're going to fight for the kingdom. We don't want to buy unfair means. I just want those 5 arrows. And immediately he gave them to him. No resistance at all. He just gave them to him. So strong in the culture was this concept of Atiti Bhagawan, that whatever they asked for, whatever they wanted, they would just, give. Yet we see in modern culture, or modern lack of culture, we have a joke in Australia. I can tell it because I'm Australian. I get away with it. But it said, what's the difference between an Australian and a cup of yogurt? Fairly simple. Yogurt has culture. In Australia, there's no culture. So the idea in modern society that there is very little culture. And usually if someone unexpected turns up at the door, what do you tell them? Sorry, I'm busy. Not today, please. I gave at the office. Something like that. But actually, in Vaishnava culture, doesn't matter who it is, you welcome them to your home, you sit them down, you'll offer them at least a glass of water. If nothing else, you'll offer them at least a glass of water. So deity worship is about learning the culture, what the culture of Vaishnavism is all about. And we see, like some people will say that, but this is Vaikuntha. In our conditioned state, yes, it is Vaikuntha, but these are the things that are going on in the spiritual world. You can read descriptions in the Govinda Lilamrita, etc. Of course, this is a very elevated book, but there are descriptions there of how the residents of Braj, but also Vrindavan Dham itself, is offering the 16 items of worship to Lord Krishna. It describes how, when the Jew is sitting on the leaves and stuff in the morning, and Krishna walks through, then the leaves, they sort of drop the dew onto Krishna's feet. It's like padya, and then when the wind blows, you've seen champak flower? It's like a golden colour flower, and it's got this long centre. It looks just like a flame. So the wind blows the branches, and then the champak tree is just offering its flowers like an arti to Krishna. So it's part of the culture. It's not like it's only in Vaikuntha. It's part of the Vrindavan culture to worship respected guests like that. But it just manifests in different ways. So it's always there. So a really important part of deity worship is training us to understand the culture. But because of our conditioned state, there's so many rules and regulations to help us to, what's the word I'm looking for? Not implant, but just like to... So it becomes hardwired into our consciousness that this is how you receive a guest. Because, the Aishvarya is necessary in the beginning, because if we don't go through the process of this Aishvarya worship, then the tendency is to become familiar. The tendency is to think, the deity is my friend, or whatever. Like sometimes we see devotees, they might give Lada Gopal deity to children. And my experience of that is you're actually doing the children a great disservice. You're actually committing violence upon them because they don't understand how to serve Krishna properly. They don't understand that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And later on, they develop inappropriate attitudes towards the deity, and they become very familiar. It is better to wait till they actually have a concept of who God is, and the necessity of worshipping in this mood or in reverence, so they actually develop the proper understanding of who God is. And then by going through this Aishvarya process of worship and through the purification, then gradually we become qualified to actually worship Krishna in Vrindavan. And of course it's worship, but it's very different. It's not like you stand there ringing a bell offering arati to him, but it's still the relationship is still there, and the service is still there, but it's in a very different mood. Yeah. How long are we going for tonight? Okay, so there's so many. Deity worship is such a vast topic, but I just thought we could discuss some of those types of things. Any questions at all? By a devotee.
They're shy.
They're shy.
They feel like
I'm vegetarian, it's okay, I don't eat devotees.
Questions are silly like that, but that's why I'm just asking on behalf of.
Sure.
The first question is like you explained, we welcome the deities, and we are
Well, not just deities, but also guests.
to guess.
Yeah. Because
So what is asking
can I just say one thing? Because, see, oftentimes, and this is a real problem, we have to try and work beyond this as individuals. It's like the deity, the guru, that's it, no one else. But it's actually any senior Vaishnava, any advanced Vaishnava comes to visit us or comes to the temple, we should actually offer them respect. Because the role of guru doesn't just refer to the Diksha guru. Anyone who gives you knowledge that helps you on the path of bhakti should be seen as a Siksha guru, and therefore they're seen as guru, so you should worship them equally. Yeah. But in your heart there may be a special place for your Diksha guru. But we need to keep these things very... And this is one of the problems that in our society is we become too guru conscious, we become too focused on our Diksha guru. But actually that Diksha guru might not necessarily be the person who's delivering you back to Godhead through their instruction. So we need to be careful with that. Sorry to interrupt.
So, probably if we invite a guest for dinner or lunch, then we ask what is the dish they like, and then we make the same to make them happy. In the same way, this devotee is saying, like, this devotee, she doesn't know what the Lord likes in terms of making prasad.
Mm-hmm.
So she write different varieties on different papers, put it before the Lord, and take one. And whatever it comes, she or he feels it's the instruction from the Lord, and she makes.
This sounds like gambling.
So the question is this okay?
No.
Okay.
The way you do it is you read the instructions. There is a song called Bhogarti by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That song describes very nicely what types of things Krishna eats. There's also a number of descriptions in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about what Krishna eats. So you don't have to speculate. You can also read the Lilamrita and the sorts of things that Prabhupada would eat. There's so many discussions about what Prabhupada would eat and what he would have at certain times of day, so we can understand, because Srila Prabhupada is a liberated person, therefore we can understand, he understands what Krishna likes. But, to put things in front, and this is gambling.
So same applicable for making tasa.
Huh? Tossing a coin. Yeah. It's gambling. We don't do things like that. We this is not our method. It's like it says in the Bhagavatam, not the Bhagavatam, Mahajani yena gata sapanta. So we can say toss a coin, Mahajani, toss a coin yena gata sapanta. That we understand the path by tossing a coin. Do that when you cross the road. Don't worry about looking. Just toss a coin and walk across the road. If it's heads, I'll walk across the road. We don't gamble. Don't speculate. The way we solve the speculation process is we understand the instructions from the spiritual master and from the previous acharyas. That's our process. That's our process. We don't leave it to speculation. We don't leave it to chance. We take shelter of the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, if you read Prabhupada's books, you understand what Krishna likes to eat. It's all there. Yeah.
So the same thing when wearing dress to deities, like putting garments to deities, dress up deities.
Putting what?
Dress garments.
Oh yeah, dressing them. Yeah.
What color to dress up? And
Well, what they do in London, for instance, is depending on the flowers that are available, the colour of the garlands of the day, then they will match the outfit to that. Sometimes you'll find, like you go to Radharaman temple, is like each day has a planetary gem. So what they'll do is they'll dress with an outfit according to the planetary gem for that day. Now, of course, in a large temple, especially in the West, where you have, like ex-pujari always dresses on Monday, or say for Sunday, for instance, Sunday's black or dark blue. So it means they dress on Sunday, they only ever dress in black or dark blue. So that may not be so practical. But in a place like India, where oftentimes you find one pujari just dresses the deities every day, then that system works well. But in the West, it's better if you either you have a number system, you rotate through the numbers, or you do like they do in London, is they match the garlands, which looks much nicer. Yeah.
So the second and third questions are like, how do I know that my deities are happy with my service or not happy with my service?
The thing is, at the stage of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, if you follow the rules and regulations, Krishna will become happy. And the spiritual master will become happy, then Krishna becomes happy. Prabhupada would say, sometimes he would say things, he'd say, I can tell by the deities' bright faces, you are serving the deities very nicely. He told Korma, we're going to go visit Korma tomorrow, and he told Korma that he made these puris very nicely puffed up. He says, this means you're following the regular principles very nicely. So there's certain things, but generally speaking, just by following the rules and regulations of bhakti, then that's pleasing to Krishna, because the Guru is pleased. And if the Guru, Yasha Prasada, Bhagavad Prasada, Yasha Prasada, Nagati Katopi. So, if the Guru is happy, then you'll achieve the supreme destination. If the Guru is not happy, you won't achieve the supreme destination. So by serving the deity under the instructions of the spiritual master, or if you're not initiated, at least under Srila Prabhupada's instructions, and we're doing our, the thing is, like, there's so many rules and regulations, and we might not be able to always follow those rules and regulations very exactly, but we do our best. We do our best, and like, okay, we slip on the path sometimes. You pick yourself up, you try again. You slip on the path, you pick yourself up, you try again. Don't give up. Even if we slip on the path, don't give up. Yeah?
So, one more question. When I travel, do I need to carry my deities with me, or?
Well, if they're 4-foot marble deities, it probably wouldn't be very practical. So that question needs more qualifying before I can answer it properly.
They are not marble.
Well, I mean, even if you have brass deities this big, you have to be very strong to carry them with you. So how big are the deities?
In case if they are able to carry, they can carry.
Better you take them with you. It's just like, see, what's the main point of deity worship? What are we trying to do? Any thoughts on that? Huh? Please the Lord. Huh? Yeah, we're trying to develop our lost relationship with Krishna. So, therefore, how do we see the Lord? As a person. Very good. So, it's like, I read something years ago about, it's a horrible thing, so I'm sorry to bring it up, but just this kind of thing reminds me of it. Is some people, they were raising children, right, and they went away and they chained the children to the refrigerator. So I mean, that's obviously someone just doesn't understand what relationship's about. They don't understand how to cultivate a relationship. They don't understand how to care for people or show their love for people. So the idea with deity worship is we're trying to cultivate a loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we treat him like a statue, i.e. we go away and we leave him on the shelf, how do we develop that loving relationship? So ideally, you take the deity with you. If it's not practical, then you need to make appropriate arrangements. Sometimes it's like you're traveling too much, or the deities are too big, or whatever. You might be going to a conference or something where Merle and myself were just in US for almost 2 weeks, and we were teaching for 9 days straight, and basically I had time to wash and iron my clothes and sleep and eat. That's it. I didn't have time for much else. So in such a circumstance, to try and worship deities would just be very difficult, beyond difficult. So the point is, it's like, just like, the same as any of you have children, for instance, right? If you have to go traveling, you either take the children with you, or you make appropriate arrangements. You don't just leave them at home to their own devices. So same with deities, you should take care. If you're serious about developing a relationship.
Any other
You run out of questions. Yes, Manaji.
So going back about daily worship.
Doing what?
Going back over daily worship.
Yeah.
The daily worship.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, can you just, maybe I'm not quite fulfilling things as I don't maybe I'm not following the rules and regulations thoroughly as I should. So my question is, if you're doing Tulsi prayers, how would you actually do it? I mean, sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the right thing or not.
The prayer, Tulsi prayers?
Yes.
What are you doing?
Well, I just do the mantra.
Yeah.
We ask you the other and sometimes flowers, sometimes I like to do it.
Yeah. Whatever you manage is okay. Tulsi is very merciful. She's very tolerant. And the idea is we're just praying to Tulsi because she's a very dear servant of Krishna to please give me Radha Krishna Prem. You're praying. So the whole thing, at least my perspective on it, is not so much about the ritual itself, but the mood with which you're offering that ritual. So the idea is if you're just going through the ritual and you're just doing a ritual and nothing more than that, then okay, rules might apply to it. But then if you're trying to the best of your capacity to serve Tulsi and beg her, please, help me become a lover of Radha and Krishna. What's that, the line where it says, what's that line where you stone me residence, the pleasure grows of freedom, Vrindavan, thus within my vision always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha Krishna. I beg you, make me follow the cowherd dams of blood. Please give me the privilege. They're saying the privilege of devotional service and make me one of your own maidservants. So we're asking Tulsi, like this humble petition, I'm begging you at your lotus feet, please allow me to become a servant of Radha and Krishna. So if you can have that mood, then it's perfect. Huh? Don't need to get complicated. See, one of the problems with deity worship is devotees try to get too complicated. That was never Prabhupada's mood. It was more about, he gave 5 things as most important. Can anyone think what those 5 things might be? What's the most important thing in deity worship? Cleanliness, yes, very good. I was actually going to speak about cleanliness tonight, but I got sidetracked. This is the topic I speak about everywhere I go, is cleanliness. The single most important thing in deity worship, and the single most neglected thing in deity worship. And not just in deity worship, in our personal lives. The cleanliness standard we maintain on the altar, we should actually maintain that everywhere, not just on the altar. In our homes, in our lives, with our personal body, clothing, everything like that. In our car, everything should be spotlessly clean. That's a Vaishnava. It's actually a human being. If you look in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, the last 4 chapters is talking about, Vana Ashram. And Narad Muni begins by giving the 30 qualities of a human being. And one of the first ones he mentions is cleanliness. So if we're not clean, according to Narad Muni, we're not even at the level of being a human being. So it's a very, very important part of Vedic culture is cleanliness. So cleanliness, yes, is one of the most important things. And that you said punctuality. Okay, so we've got 2 out of the 5. What are the other 3? What do you think the other 3 might be? Mataji, making the galas. What do you think one of the important items in deity worship is? You're holding them in your hands. Flowers. Yeah, very nice, fragrant flowers. Very important. Actually, flowers, Prabhupada, there's a letter where Prabhupada mentions that Krishna, who's from the Vrindavan atmosphere, he's very fond of flowers. He's from a village atmosphere. He's not from a city. And he's not fond of iPhones and laptops and fast cars and things like that. He's fond of flowers. So we've got 3 things now. We've got punctuality, cleanliness, flowers. What else? Flowers also means scents. I actually brought some scents along with me. That good quality scents. What else? Mood, that's important, but it's not one of the 5 things he mentions. Dressing, yeah, very good. Nice dresses. And the last thing? Yes. I was wondering if someone would get that. Very important. That's because the thing is, like, you mentioned the mood. If we're always attentive to make sure we offer the best things we possibly can to Krishna, then the mood's there. It's not separate from these things. So Prabhupada would say, nice flowers, nice scents, beautiful dresses, and very opulent bhoga. We should always feed Krishna very, very nicely. You don't feed him like he's a poor man. And you give him poor quality vegetables or burnt or over salted or whatever. It should be always first class. He's not fond of lots and lots of chilies. He likes things which are mild. We worship Krishna like a 16-year-old boy. Yeah? And how many 16-year-old boys eat like hot, spicy food? It's something you generally tend to get into when you get older, because the senses are becoming so dulled you can't taste anything anymore. Yeah? But usually, and actually Prabhupada, he told the devotees in Melbourne, he told Korma, he said, you feed Krishna like a hungry 16-year-old boy. So when you make the bhog offering plates, fill it up. I remember the first time I went to the temple. I think I was like, I would have been probably 19 or something. No, a bit 22 I was, and I astounded myself with how much I ate, because the prasad was so nice. But Krishna, he eats like a hungry 16-year-old boy. So just make sure you feed him. And you know the old saying? A very famous old saying my mother used to tell me all the time. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Yeah? So if you satisfy Krishna with these things, with the cleanliness is so important. Prabhupada says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, if you're always attentive to cleanliness, then one day you'll be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Just by cleanliness. You don't need to do anything else. Just by being clean, spotlessly clean, inside and out, you will become qualified to see Krishna face to face. So very, very important. Punctuality, especially in temple worship. Everything should be strictly punctual, usually to the minute. Very nice quality bhog offering. Just feed him very opulently. Just saturate whatever you're offering him with love, not with ghee, with love. Sometimes Prabhupada would sometimes say, he says, my disciples, they don't cook with ghee, they cook in ghee. He says everything is so slippery, just slides down, you can't taste it. So ghee is good, but it shouldn't be saturated in ghee. Very, very nice quality bhog offerings. Very satisfying. Dress him very beautifully. And the scents. He likes nice scents. Flowers. Like these are beautiful, these flowers here. The garland broke, but they're very very fragrant flowers. They're nice. And scents, the oils we rub on his body and things like that. The deity worship is simple.
When you say punctuality, for example,
Yeah.
do you mean every day at the same time?
Yes. Just like the train comes at the same time every day, isn't it? Punctual means basically to the minute. Sometimes devotees say to the second, but from what I've sort of gleaned from Prabhupada's pastimes, it was more about to the minute. You had a comment, Miller? Huh? Yeah, with home worship, it's not. See, like in the original Archana Padhati, the white book that was one of the early deity worship books we had in ISKCON, the foreword was written by Bhakti Pragar Keshav Maharaj, who was Prabhupada's sannyas guru. And in there, Maharaj is talking about two types of worship, and he said, like, there's the worship in the temple, which is called Raj Seva, which is based around the needs of the deity. So, Raj means kingly seva. Yeah. So it's based around the needs of the deity. Everything is done according to the deity's schedule. But then there's worship at home. That is based around the needs of the family. So sometimes, for instance, you might have in the family environment like young children. Now, if the child comes running in and says, Mummy, I'm hungry, I need something to eat, and you turn around to the child and say, oh, the Raj Bhog's not for another 2 hours, you can't eat, sorry. How's that going to affect the child psychologically? Is that going to develop their attraction for Krishna, or is it going to push them away from Krishna? So we need to be practical. So it doesn't have the strict schedule. Cleanliness should be the same. But also in the home worship, there should be a schedule in that you have regular daily worship. Whatever it is you do it every day. Like for instance, bathing and dressing should be there every day. I know many devotees, they might bathe their deities once a week, or once a fortnight, once a month, once a year. Prabhupada, he makes the point, he says, Sri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana. Nitya means daily worship, not occasional worship. Occasional worship is for festivals. Bathing the deity is not a festival. Just like we have our own bath. Maybe back in the, at the turn of the century, having a bath in England was a festival. And they do it once a week or once a month, But, it's not like that with Krishna. In Vedic culture, even like, anyone here been to West Bengal? Especially Calcutta? And you can see that, you drive around in the morning, you can see people like bathing themselves. It's a real thing. They really get into it, That's part of the culture. So it's the same with deity worship. There's bathing, daily work bathing. And actually not just once. If a Brahmin is, strictly speaking, should bathe 3 times a day. At least twice. 3 times a day, the Brahmin would bathe each time before they chant Gayatri. Or before going to the temple. So, this very important thing is cleanliness. So that shouldn't change. That should always be there. The standards of cleanliness are really, really high standards of cleanliness. Yeah. Well, ideally you would keep the whole house clean anyhow. Not that you clean it each time before the puja, but it should be kept clean so it's not a problem. Like my wife at home, she cleans the house thoroughly on Mondays, and then she does a half clean on Thursdays, and every day she's doing some element of cleaning. So the house is, like, if you come in before or after she's cleaned, you won't notice any difference because it's all spotlessly clean. So this is how we need to maintain our house, because this is what it means to be a Vaishnava or a devotee of Krishna, is we're perfectly clean. Because as there's that param brahma param dhamma pavitram paramam bhavam. So this pavitram paramam bhavam means that Krishna's nature is the purest. There's no, and Prabhupada sometimes would translate that as being extreme pure. There's nothing that is more pure than Krishna. There's nothing in existence that can be more pure than Krishna. And if you want to come into contact with that supreme pure, guess what? You also need to be pure to the same degree. Not just like half clean or whatever. No, you need to be completely pure. Otherwise you cannot contact Krishna. So there's an interesting lecture that Prabhupada, like one time he was in Mayapur and he's walking around I quote this a lot because it's a really good example of Prabhupada's emphasis on cleanliness. He was walking around Mayapur one time and he came upon these toilets, which were workers' toilets, and the toilets were overflowing, and he got upset about it. And one of the managers turned up at that point in time, and he said, because you are in the mode of ignorance, and this is in the mode of ignorance, you do nothing. And then during the class that day, Bhagavatam class that day, he talked about it. And he was saying, like, if you mix acid and acid, there's no reaction. But if you mix acid and alkaline, there's effervescence. There's a reaction. So in the same way, if someone is situated in the mode of ignorance and they come upon something that's in the mode of ignorance, it seems normal. Just have a walk around the neighborhood here and look at some of the houses. They're so run down and dirty and just not looked after at all. This is because the residents, it seems normal to them. They don't care. But we shouldn't be like that. The temple, when people come to the temple, they should be, wow. It's just like, if you come to Mayapur, you come and visit the Mayapur Academy. What's the first thing people say when they come to Mayapur Academy? They've never been there before?
It's so clean.
It's not like India in here. It's so clean. So it's just like when people should come here. What's this called? Wali Range, I think, this area? So when they come into the temple, they say, wow, are we in Wali Range? They should. Prabhupada wanted them to have this sense that they're actually going into Vaikuntha. So outside the place, the grounds, inside the temple, everything should give that impression that when a guest comes, they can see, this is not like everywhere else. This is something different. And that's our duty as devotees, is to give that impression. When they come here to the temple, they really feel, that this is the spiritual world. And part of achieving that is by keeping the place spotlessly clean, inside and out. Not just the inside, also the outside, because when they drive down the street, they go, wow, that place looks nice. It should really have. Prabhupada wanted, he told the devotees in Washington, D.C., that he wanted them to make the grounds of the temple so nice that the congressmen's wives would harass them, the congressmen, to go and take them to see the temple. That's the kind of thing that Prabhupada wanted, that people would be eager to come and visit our temple because it's just something different. And they get a sense of Vaikuntha, they get a sense of the spiritual world when they come here. And if the place is dirty and unkempt and not maintained, it just looks like everything else. But if it's always scrupulously clean, then they get the sense of Vaikuntha. So cleanliness is such an important part. So even in your home, when people come into your home, like people come to our home, and they're just stunned by the ambience. My wife keeps a really, really nice house, and you really get it's an ashram. You really get the sense of it being an ashram. It's like a shelter from the material world, a shelter from the dust of material nature. And that's what it needs to be like. Anyone else? Anything else? Prabhu?
How do you think we are on that scale of cleanliness, or would you say? I think everyone's
I try not to do things like that. I try not to do things like that. Yeah. It's just not fair to do things like that to people, because I did do that years ago, and I upset people, so I stopped doing it. I don't want to upset anyone. I mean, I'm not saying cleanliness is not bad here, but the thing is, there's always room for improvement. Srila Prabhupada, he wrote a letter to Rukmini. You know Rukmini, Anuttama's wife. Anuttama IC, ISKCON Communications, Anuttama, his wife. She was one of the original pujaris in ISKCON. Back in the late 60s, she was a pujari. And in this letter he wrote to Rukmini, he said, the idea is summit cleanliness. That will satisfy Krishna. So what do we mean when we say summit cleanliness? What's the summit of the mountain? It's the highest point. So when you get on the summit of the mountain, what does that mean? You can't go any higher. So if you could make things cleaner here, it's not clean enough. Nice story, Jamuna told me. She was in Vrindavan. This was before they had the temple at Ravanreti, when Prabhupada was staying in his rooms at Radha. And in the summer they get dust storms, and they're really big dust storms, a lot of dust blowing in sand and stuff from the desert. And she was cleaning Prabhupada's room every day, and she was organising everything very nicely, and she did it, and she was satisfied that it was clean, and everything was neatly arranged on his desk. The desks were cleaned, all the windows sills, everything was clean. Prabhupada came back from his morning walk, and he sat down behind the desk, and he's just moving things around and things like that. And then he says to Jamuna, when will you ever learn? And what do you mean, Srila Prabhupada? He says, when will you ever learn? I don't know what you mean, Prabhupada. He says, when will you ever learn to clean? And he opened up the stapler, and he wiped his finger inside. He says, see, dust. That's what Prabhupada means by cleanliness. If you can find dust anywhere here, it's not clean. If you go into the kitchen and you see a pot that has some pot black on the bottom, it's not clean. If you look anywhere around the place, and you find some dirt or dust or something out of place, it's not clean. In Calcutta one time, Prabhupada was, because Narayani told me that she was, her and her husband were the head pujaris there, or the pujaris. In those days, the head pujari meant you were the pujari. You didn't have anyone else to help you. And so they were rushing to get things done on time. Because Prabhupada was a stickler, things should be on time. He'd come back on his morning walk exactly on time for darshan. He came into the temple, and the darshan was exactly on time. But they didn't have time to sweep the floor. And there's 2 or 3 flower petals on the floor, on the altar floor. And they probably would lean to the bridge and say, oh, why is it so dirty? That's the type of thing that Prabhupada was into. He wanted everything spotlessly clean. Because when you have this, when everything's spotlessly clean, guests come, devotees come, it's so good for the mind, for the consciousness, to come into a clean place. it helps the mind, it helps the mind reset into something that's a little bit better than what we're experiencing every day. It's very, very important. And in deity worship, there's different, what they call shad-shuddhis. There's 6 different divisions of purity. So the first off is the sthana shuddhi, which means the place where the worship is done. But also the temple is regarded as being the place where the worship is done. It's not just the altar. The dravya shuddhi means the items we're offering to the deity. Then there's atma shuddhi, means the self, the clothes, all this sort of stuff. Atma shuddhi. What else is there, Millie? Help me. Huh? What shuddhi? No. No, Bhuta Shuddhi is part of being included, Atma Shuddhi. Mantra Shuddhi means, the mantras should be appropriate mantras, they should be received from a proper thing. Then there's Murti Shuddhi, and there's Chitta Shuddhi, I think. Yeah, Chitta Shuddhi also means the heart or the mind should be pure as well. So all these things are, it's not just, we make the room clean. No, everything has to be clean. Our consciousness has to be clean. And what is the ultimate cleansing of the consciousness? No, the mind and heart means consciousness. When the consciousness is pure, what's going on? What do we think? Huh? No, I'm a servant of Krishna. Yeah, because the impurity that's there is I'm thinking I'm the controller, I'm thinking I'm the enjoyer. But the ultimate purity is to think, Gopipata Pata Kamaloi Dasa Dasa Anudasa. That's why we chant this verse before we do deity worship. We always chant this verse before we do deity worship to help to remind ourselves. Do you still do that in London? They used to have that sheet, and I remember Lila Shakti, she would always come down the altar and she would chant that verse before she started addressing the deities. To understand that I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Sudra, I'm not a Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Brahmacharya, Sannyasi. I only identify myself as a servant of the master of the gopis. This is the consciousness to understand who I am, really. And if we're understanding that, the more we attempt to understand that, and then we also understand that, okay, I'm Krishna's eternal servant. This is Krishna's temple. Therefore, because it's Krishna's temple, because I'm Krishna's servant, I have to make sure it's clean, because that's pleasing to Krishna. Because He's the Supreme Pure. I want to approach the Supreme Pure. I need to become this pure. Yeah? So deity worship is a very, very essential thing to help us to become purified. And as I was saying, I think last night I mentioned that quote from Jiva Goswami, where basically he's saying that everyone needs to do deity worship because we're impure. And I'm sure, if you take the time to look around, I mean, I haven't bothered to look around because I haven't come here to assess you for deity worship. I've come to encourage you. But, I think that probably within a few seconds, just in this room, maybe without even moving from my seat, I could find plenty of dust. Huh? Without even having to look too hard. Just because I've been doing it for 20 years. I know where to look. Chandelier, on top of the ledges, around the skirting boards, above the door architraves, on top of the clock, on top of the projector up here, on top of the door frames, the picture frames. All those types of things. The things that are above your eye level. Even if you look on the door, you see how it's got the panels there along the upper edges of all those things. You'll probably find there's dust. There's just so many places to look. And the thing is, dust never sleeps. It's like spiders. If you get spiders in here, you clean the cobwebs. Next morning they're back. Yeah. Yeah. And every time he got more dust than anyone else, and he was showing us how to clean. Of course, I'm not suggesting you get buckets of water in here and start throwing buckets of water all over the place and stuff like that, because different type of building from the Gundicha temple, and you might get electrocuted. But and even like there's a really nice story, and I quote this one a fair bit too, when it's talking about the devotional qualities of Raghava Pandit. Huh? You know that story with the coconuts? So Raghava Pandit, or is it? Yeah, Raghava Pandit. And so Yeah, he was because he had a coconut grove himself, but he just didn't think those coconuts were good enough. So he would bring coconuts from a distant place because they were much sweeter. And so he'd have his servant clip the coconuts, meaning cut the top off so he can drink from them, and bring them to the deity. One time he was bringing them and he touched the door frame. And so he was concerned that by touching the door frame, it may have caused the dust to fall down from the top onto the coconuts, thus contaminating them. And so he rejected them. Srila Prabhupada, he mentions in the purport, one of the purports there towards the end of that pastime, he said that Raghava Pandit was not a crazy fellow with some cleansing phobia. He was just concerned that everything offered to the Lord was of the topmost purity. So it's just like, okay, here we are in this room, right? Now, I'm not saying there is, but more than likely you would find there's dust sitting on top of that architrave up there, right? When the door, or anything on the chandeliers, I can see there's dust up on the chandeliers, I can see there's cobwebs there too. But when you open and close the door, it moves the air in the room. So when you move the air in the room, guess what? It moves the dust also, and the dust will fall down. Especially this is relevant on the altar and in the kitchen, but everywhere it's important. In the kitchen, if you have like pipes or anything like even the extractor hood or anything like that, and there's dust or whatever on top, when things are moving in the kitchen, it disturbs the dust, and it can fall down into what you're cooking. Extractor hood, classic thing in the extractor hood is if you don't get the filters cleaned regularly. How often do you clean your filters? Once a week. Yeah. But I'm just trying to give you an idea. It's like when devotees don't clean the extractor filters enough, the ghee residue builds up in them, and when you're cooking, okay, it's solid when you're not cooking, but when you're cooking, it builds up and it melts and it starts to drip down into the pots. So that's what you're offering to Krishna is all this like yucky ghee stuff, So it's same with the stoves, like clean the oven every time you use it, every single time. Clean it while it's warm. It's much easier. You just get a moist cloth and you wipe it off, bang, done. If you leave it for a month or two, my gosh, you've got to get a jackhammer in there to get the stuff off, and you've got to use all these really nasty chemical, those oven cleaner stuff, which are really toxic things, But if you just use it while it's warm and wipe it off, it's really simple. And especially make sure you get the top, the inside of the oven, the top part, because that's where most of the stuff is. Yeah? Same with pots. If you're making milk sweets and you burn the pot, don't let it cool down. Clean it straight away. It'll come off really easy. Yeah? But if you let the pot cool down, that's hard work. Yeah?
There's another trick as well to soak it in water.
Yeah, but if you clean it, I know. But if you clean it straight away while it's still hot, it just comes off like that. It's so easy. You get a scraper and scrape it off, and it's done.
I have one question. So, the level of cleanliness that you're speaking about is very, very high. It's some
Minimum.
So, we're so busy with our jobs, or we're so busy doing our different duties to make everything. So we think that would take too long. We just spend our whole life cleaning, but what about cooking and just to take care of the garden or something?
But isn't that the goal?
Huh?
To spend your whole life cleaning? Isn't that the goal?
About preaching, you want to preach.
That's also cleaning. You're cleaning your heart, you're cleaning their heart. But everything we should do, everything we're doing is just kirtana yasada hari. That's just cleansing. That's the cleansing process.
Like you say, also, sometimes it can be a bit disheartening because it's such a, maybe just like it's such a never-ending job. Nothing's ever clean.
Many hands make light work.
So
Huh?
gradually have different.
Yeah, well, I think one of the easiest ways to do it is you schedule it. So like everything's got there's a roster. Like you come in every week and you clean the chandeliers. You come in every week, you clean all the skirtings and the architraves and stuff. So someone just has a duty, and just make sure that everything gets clean. I bet if you got up on top and had a look on top of those speakers, there's probably quite a lot of dust up there. All those types of things. But I would say that men should do things like that, because ladies not very good to go up on ladders, especially with wearing dresses and stuff. When you're coming down, you get caught up in their feet and stuff like that. But just you schedule it so that everything's scheduled. Because if it's not scheduled, it won't happen. And then you have to do these maha cleans, which I personally think if you clean properly, they're not necessary. If everything's cleaned regularly and daily, but also like one thing to look at is to make surfaces that are easy to clean. You know, like this here, this surface here, because it's textured, will be much harder to clean than say a surface like this. Oh, this one here is smooth. This one's textured also. The textured ones tend to gather dust and dirt, and when you wipe it, it actually often gets worse. Gloss, gloss and semi-gloss surfaces, things like that. You paint with scrubbable vinyl, paint with like bathroom paints and things like that, especially in areas where you have to wipe them down. Altars is nice to have tile to the ceiling kind of thing, marble to the ceiling, all that sort of stuff, because it's easy to keep clean. And just all that sort of stuff. You just have to plan it. That okay, like in Western kind of concepts, it's just they make it so it looks good. Cleaning is like an option, but we need to like think of it how to make everything so it's easy to keep very, very clean. Because if it's hard to keep clean, no one will want to keep it clean. But if it's easy to keep clean, then it's more likely you'll get devotees doing it. But if you have all these complicated things, it's too hard. That's like one of the things my wife does is she minimizes. She's a minimalist in terms of decorations and stuff like that. We've just got in the house what we need. Because what it's like, you got a shelf which has got all the, it's quite common you go into houses and they've got a mantelpiece over the fire and they've got all these like little trinkets and stuff like that. But who wants to dust all that stuff? But if you just have a straight mantelpiece, you go, it's done. So, and I find that a lot with people as they get older. They tend to become minimalist because they're sick, of 20, 30 years of cleaning. They're like, okay, I don't want to clean this stuff anymore, So just get rid of it, It's so important. Domestic engineer, that's a new one. What are you engineering? Actually, were you telling me that, or someone was telling me that recently? It was like someone was going for some sort of application, and they kept writing housewife on the application. The person said, "Oh, that's not a job." And then so they wrote something like that on it, and they put the application in. Well, I mean, I don't know what it's like in your household, but in my household, I participate in the cleaning. I hang the washing out. I always, scrub the shower recess and stuff like that because it's just too hard for my wife. I scrub the toilet out, all that sort of stuff. Huh? Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily I mean, it's just like this, Well, in Australia, it's like I just help because it's just too much for her. Yeah. But I just think it's practical, like the main thing. I mean, who does it doesn't really matter, as long as it gets done. So if the husband does it, the wife does it, what does it matter? As long as it gets done. And I just think it's fair. I mean, in Australia, and I'm sure you've got the same thing here. I mean, actually, I know you have got the same thing here because the people downstairs from Merle, this is their kind of mindset, is the guy just sits around, he goes to work, comes home, sits around drinking beer, watching the football. And that's it. And you ask him to do anything, he gets angry. So the wife's too scared to say anything because you got this guy with this kind of like, attitude. But that's not a cultured person. There's no problems with sharing the responsibilities at home. Yeah. But the main point is that the house, the environment you live in, should be spotlessly clean because it affects your consciousness. If you live in an unclean place, then gradually you will slide into the mode of ignorance. Either that or you'll make the place clean. If you want to maintain goodness, you'll make the place clean. They're incompatible, and you can't have these incompatible things. If you're a transcendentalist, I mean, seriously a transcendentalist, you're going to rise above that, but how many of us could claim to be transcendentalists? We're on the transcendental path, there's no doubt, but have we achieved the transcendental consciousness? I don't think so. I know some people are transcendentalists. I remember one time, I would say Janani Prabhu was a transcendentalist. And one time we were doing a demonstration. We used to do these professional development days for our staff in Mayapur. And so one day we were just doing some experiential learning. And we had Janani Prabhu sit down and do Archman and give an Archman demonstration. And we didn't realize that there was no water in the Archman cup. And so after it was finished, we realized there was no water in the Archman cup. And Atul Krishna said to him, "Did it make any difference?" He said, "No." So he was just absorbed in sipping the mantras more than anything. So when you're on the transcendental level, then yeah, sure, the external environment's not so important. But for those of us who are on the conditioned level, which I think would fit most of us, your environment is so important. It has a direct effect upon you. And like if you look around the world you're living in, right? Raja, Tama. And what are all the people? What's their mode of nature? Raja and Tama. They're influenced by they create the environment and they're influenced by the environment. And also the effect of Kali Yuga is pushing more and more Raja. And we're all experiencing it. How many times do you hear someone say, "Oh, I'm so busy"? How many times do you hear, "I've got no time to do anything"? What's that a symptom of? Rajagun. It's a symptom of Rajagun. Always active. But that's, if we want to get to the transcendental state, we need to cultivate goodness as the beginning. That'll help us to get to the transcendental. You can, but it's very difficult to get to the transcendental state from Raja, and practically impossible to get there from Tama. Sorry? Where? Yeah, passion. Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. Raja means passion, and Tama means ignorance, and Sattva means goodness. So if one's influenced by passion or ignorance, very difficult to go to the transcendental state. But if one's in goodness, then that's almost there. It's almost there. You just got to push a bit further, and you'll get to the transcendental position. So that's why this cleansing process is so vital to our spiritual progress. I'm not going to get too much into the detail of it because there's so much detail. It's just unbelievable how much detail there is in terms of purity. But the main thing is to understand the concept of purity. Even like I was in London the other day. I told you this. And there was a Pujari, he was cleaning the altar. Just to give you an idea of the subtleties involved, because there is the gross aspect, but there's also the subtle aspect of purity. One of the Pujaris was sweeping the altar with a broom. So, sweeping the altar, and on the altar either side they got the asanas there for the deities, or Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. So he picked up one of the asanas with his left hand. That's improper to start with because you're picking up your left hand, but he's holding the broom in his right hand, sweeping the floor. So what he needed to do was actually put the broom down, purify his hands, move the asana, sweep the floor, then purify his hands again, and put the asana back. To hold spiritual things and like respected things, because it's all in one sense spiritual, and they're using a broom or something like that, that's inappropriate. One time Prabhupada was Hari Suri Prabhu. He's got this nice. You can download them on YouTube. Hari Suri on cleanliness. Or Prabhupada on cleanliness, Hari Suri speaking. And this was after Hari Suri had just started serving Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, and someone had brought Prabhupada some fruit. I think it was bananas, wasn't it? Bananas? And he was brought him some fruit, and Prabhupada had it on the desk. And then Hari Suri gave Prabhupada his meal. So Prabhupada ate his meal, and then Prabhupada said to Hari Suri Prabhu, "You take the fruit out, And so Hari Suri Prabhu thought, I'll save time. He picked up the fruit in one hand and the plate in the other hand. Prabhupada immediately caught him on that and said, "No, don't do this. You wash your hands after touching the plate because the plate's unclean." So you need to understand. It's even like when you're in the deity department, when you're anywhere, to put bhoga and prasad in the same place. Because the bhoga will become contaminated by the prasad, then you can't offer it. So you need to have separate areas for prasad, where you do your transfers and all that, and separate areas where you set up for your offerings. So it's all, there's a lot of subtleties there, but the more you get into these things, the more you cultivate goodness, the more you are. And what's the symptom of goodness? The prime symptom of goodness? Illumination. You see things as they are. But tamagun, in ignorance, you can't understand anything. Okay, anything else? Any other questions? Yeah. Well, the obviously the incense is not the sense of touch; it's the smell. Because and it should smell pleasing. Like some of these incenses smell like drain cleaner. They don't smell very nice at all, huh? Yeah, some are horrible smells. I remember when I was in New York and we were walking around. It wasn't really. It was smelling like drugs everywhere. It's everywhere you walked in New York, you can smell drugs. Yeah. But yeah, it should be nice smell. And it's usually, and then the lamp is pleasing to see, pleasing to touch. Yeah. He's also pleased with the incense, seeing the incense, smelling the incense. They represent various elements, like the lamp represents fire, the incense represents earth in its pure form. Fragrance comes from the earth. Punyagandha prativyam cha. Yeah, so, yeah. The agarbatti is a fairly recent thing, but whether it's a modern invention or not is irrelevant. If it smells nice and it's got good quality ingredients, then what's the problem? Traditionally, they would make balls and drop them on charcoal. They'd make balls of scents and drop them on charcoal. But the agarbatti, agar means agar wood, aguru. Or oud. So, and the bati is a stick, so they'd actually roll it onto agar sticks. Of course, these days they don't do it because it's very expensive. Agar wood's just ridiculously expensive.
You can't get hand-rolled incense.
Huh?
You can't buy hand-rolled incense.
You can't?
Yeah, you can't. You said packet, it just says on it, it's been hand-rolled fresh from India.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, well, the thing is, like I was saying, traditionally it was made on agar wood, but agar wood is very, very expensive. Very expensive. No, sandalwood's a different thing. Agar means aguru wood, and that was one of the main ingredients in many types of incense. But nowadays they use bamboo from Vietnam, because the Vietnamese, they cut it really, uniformly, and it's quite good. The bamboo you get in India, they don't cut it very well, so you have to throw half of it out because it's all too small or too big. But you can use the incense, not a problem, as long as the thing is, like, try to your best ability to find out what the ingredients are, because sometimes the ingredients are contaminated. A lot of the incenses in India, they use cowhide, like they grind up the cowhide and use it as a binder, so it's to make the incense stay on the stick. Yeah, it's just, cowhide, the skin from the cows. Yeah. A lot of incenses are contaminated like that. Yeah, and there's all sorts of a lot of them are just chemicals. You can smell them if they're chemicals. You can. There's a place in Pune, Bhagawan Das. He makes really good quality incense. Adi Guru gets incense from him. He gets him to make incense for him. So the stuff that Adi Guru's got is good. We also make incense in Mayapur. We only do one fragrance at this point. But you can find good incense. But just most of the commercially available stuff is rubbish. If you're paying 20 rupees for a packet, or even for a kg, you might be paying 250 rupees for a quarter of a kg or something. You can be fairly sure that it's not very good incense. Our tendency is want to. I remember listening to a lecture by Ravindra Swarup one day, and he was talking about when people go to the airports, there's the guy with the shirt, and he pulls it out, and he's got all these Rolexes that hang up in his shirt, and he says, sell your Rolex for $50, right? And then you get it home and you realise it's not a Rolex, and you feel like you've been cheated. But the thing is, you were willing to pay that money, You're also got the cheating mentality there, because you're thinking it's a Rolex for $50. No, a Rolex is like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. How are you going to get a Rolex for $50? Maybe it's stolen. You're going to buy stolen goods. You're just as bad as they are. And in the law, you receive stolen goods, you get similar punishment to the person who stole it. So, cheap incense, it's rubbish. Cheap oils, they're rubbish. Anything cheap like that, The Prabhupada would criticize that damn cheap Baba mentality. That's generally when the incense is not very good quality. With good quality, they use natural fragrances, especially if you get the black ones, right? With the black ones, what they are is they just got they buy a blank, right? And they buy hundreds of kgs of these blanks, and they just dip them in an oil or a fragrance, and that they'll sell it. But mostly the fragrance evaporates after some time. But when you get the masala incenses, they're the ones that are more uneven, and they get different colors. They're usually like the fragrance is actually, they make up a masala paste and they roll it in that masala. Those ones will generally hold the flavour a little bit better, but the black ones, they're usually dipped in some chemical mixture. Yeah. Yeah, but this, how much are you paying for a packet? How many sticks you get? But how many sticks of incense? Huh? Hundreds, yeah. So for that kind of price, you're not going to get a high quality incense. Yeah, if you want to get a high quality incense, you're going to pay probably something like 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 rupees per kg for it, and upwards, not downwards. Anything less than that is more than likely it's not a very good quality incense. Because fragrances, good quality fragrances, are very expensive. Like, they'll sell you stuff and they call it rose, rose Otto or something, or what's the absolute rose or something like that, Like if you want to get rose oil, for instance, good rose oil costs around about 12,000 euros a kg. In India, it's 1,000 rupees a gram, or you extrapolate that out, 10 lakh for a kg. And then you go to the market and you buy some rose incense and you pay 20 rupees for a packet. That's not rose. It's something. Or sandalwood. Yeah, sandalwood is ridiculously expensive. You pay like 2, 3, 4 lakh a kg for sandalwood oil. And they sell you sandalwood incense, and you get it home, and it doesn't smell like sandalwood. So they're just becoming very, very expert at synthesizing these fragrances, but they don't last. The fragrance goes away. Yeah, even you want to buy oils, if you can't trust what you find in India, then just buy the local stuff. You go to doTERRA or someone like that and just find an oil you like. You can use local oils. In France, you can get very good quality lavender oil. Yeah, but but the price you're paying for it, I can guarantee you, is a chemical. If like to make a kg of incense, you're going to use about 300 grams of oil, approximately. So if it's rose, that means 1 kg of incense, you're using, what is it, 1,200, it'll be 3,600 euros minimum price you're going to pay for it. I'm just going to pay that much more for a kg of incense. 1 stick a year. So but you get what you pay for. If you want to have high quality stuff, you have to pay the money for it. If you're okay with just whatever. Yeah, but obviously the temple is trying to facilitate you as best they can, because for sure, if they went and bought some high quality incense, how many people would buy it? You'd have this stuff sitting on the shelf for 10 years. Same stuff. It's the same stuff. It's not. You're not going to get quality incense because it's just not profitable. You got to understand what's the merchant doing. He's trying to make money. He's not interested in giving you the best quality product. He's interested in making money. So if you go to a shop and you see one packet of incense is 50 pound, another pack of incense is £1. Which pack do you go for? Exactly. So you don't want quality. You want price. You can't have both. And it's the same with everything like that. You want to go and buy a good car. You want to go buy a car you can afford. You can go and pay $1 million for a Bugatti Veyron, or you can go and pay down the car yard here, £2,000 for a second-hand Suzuki or something. You get what you pay for. Yeah. But to the best of our capacity, try to find the best quality product offered to Krishna. The best of what you can get. That's always what we should do, is try to find the best we can, not we just get cheap things for Krishna. Because as he says in the Gita, in the 4th chapter, he says, Yayata mam prapadante tang sataiva vijamyaham. As they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. So if we want to get the best result from our devotional service, from our deity worship, then offer the best we can. Better offer one really nice thing than hundreds of not so nice things. That's right. Not at all a contradiction. It should be good quality leaf, good quality flower, good quality, You don't offer dirty water to Krishna, you offer pure water. Everything best. Good, better, best, never let it rest. Your good is better and your better is best. Just keep always trying to improve what we're doing for Krishna. And Krishna sees that endeavor. And when he sees that we're just, our whole endeavor is to try to please him, he becomes happy. Because you were asking one of the questions before, how do we know if Krishna's satisfied? Because we're always trying to please him. We may not have the facility, we may not understand completely, but we're always trying to please him. And then he becomes happy. Yeah? Is that okay? Okay, so just on the quality, the category of oil, quality products, I've got some oils here which I brought from Mayapur. Now they're not the best quality, but they're fairly good quality. I have 2 types. I have saffron and kush oil. Now the saffron oil is warming, and the kush oil is cooling, and I have them in 5 gram and 10 gram bottles. I've also got some kadamba in 5 gram bottles. And they have, you know what a dripulator is? Those little dripper, little sort of hole thing you get and you can drip it out. So some have got dripulators and some don't. The ones that don't means the oil comes out quicker. Now, I don't remember the prices, so I've got to look on my little gadget here so I can remember what the prices are, just to give you an idea. I don't know if anyone wants any oils, but I've got them here anyhow. Where to put it there? Okay, so with the saffron oil, because normally what I do is I have prices for temples and prices for devotees, but I'll give you the temple price because it's cheaper, and that might encourage you to take some. Okay, so for the, and I'm going to round it down, because then we don't have to deal with all the things, too many coins. The saffron of the 10 gram bottle is £10, and the 5 gram bottle is £6, and then the kush is £27 for the 10 gram bottle, and £16 for the small bottle, 5 ml bottle. So I don't know if anyone wants any oil, but that's what I got. Just sort of bring that for you all. You massage them on your deities. You can offer them on a scent to on a cotton swab for the deities. And usually before, so that's also part of the culture. Is like when you bathe, is usually do an oil massage before, and what that does, it opens up the pores of the skin, so it allows the dirt to come out, and you can wash the dirt off more effectively. So yeah. Yeah, generally, usually if you have a Sheila, shallow-gram Sheila, or metal deities, not on wood deities or marble deities or anything like that. Yeah. So, if you have metal deities at home, you can use oils before you bathe. They're very nice fragrances. Okay, anything else? It's been very nice to visit here once again. And as I was mentioning last night, I can see that there's a lot more devotees coming now, which is a very positive sign. It means that your hard efforts with preaching are bearing fruit. It's good to see. But just keep pushing on. Keep trying to, as best you can, inspire people. Try to give them Krishna in whatever way you can. Whether it's prasadam, whether it's a book, whether it's the holy name, whether you get a little bit of philosophy. Just try. Lord Chaitanya says, whomever you meet, you instruct them in the science of Krishna, as given in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. So wherever you go, just try to give people Krishna consciousness. It'll make your life perfect, it'll make their life perfect. And it's a very, very effective way of becoming dear to Krishna. Krishna says at the end of the Gita, he says, there's no person in this world who's more dear to me, nor will there ever be one as dear as that person who's giving this message of the Bhagavad Gita to others. So, just by trying to give people Krishna consciousness, the community will grow, your spiritual life will grow, their spiritual life will grow. So just as much as you can. Yeah.
But how do we know when we're making spiritual progress? There's no communication, you don't dream, you don't push that, you don't know whether they're praying.
Because you're giving up material desires. You're giving up material desires. As your material desires, as you advance spiritually, your material desires will go down. If your material desires are increasing, you're doing something wrong. And if material desires stay the same, you're doing something wrong. Material desires go down, you're advancing. Yeah. Simple. It's a science, and it's just like, do you cook? Okay, but when you cook, there's anyone who's an experienced cook knows that like when you're cooking like sweet rice, for instance, right? You make sweet rice. The sweet or burfi, the sweet goes through various stages. The milk acts differently according to how much condensed it is and how the ingredients are. Like you see when you're doing burfi, when you start off with burfi, you stir the whole time, otherwise it'll stick. It's not the milk sticking; it's the sugar that sticks. You have to stir it the whole time to make sure it doesn't stick. And then it gets to a certain point, you can just leave it on a rolling boil. And then you watch it, and as it's thickening up, you just stir it every now and then. It thickens up, and then the oil starts to come out of the milk, so you have to start stirring again. And then you stir, and it gets to the point, when you touch it, it doesn't stick to your finger, it's ready. If it sticks to your finger, it's not ready. It also hurts. But when you touch it, it doesn't stick to your finger, it's ready. It's a science. Cooking is a science. It's not arbitrary. People who do arbitrary cooking don't know how to cook. But if they understand the science, they'll never make a mistake. They'll never mess things up. So it's the same with devotional service. It's a science. It's the highest science. So everything you do, there's an indicator of how to understand where you are spiritually. So when your material desires go down, that's because you're making spiritual advancement. Yeah. So keep making spiritual advancement. Yeah.
Material desires, can you just briefly elaborate on that? I know what it means, but is there anything?
Material desires basically means anything that's focusing on you, right? Whether it be sex life, intoxication, gambling, meat eating, anything like that. I want a new car, I want a new house, or I want to have 3 cars, I want to have 4 cars, I want to have 5 cars, I want a bigger, better job, I want to get paid more. I want a new girlfriend, I want a new boyfriend, don't like this one anymore. All that stuff that's focusing on you is fruitive activity, material life. So the idea with Krishna consciousness is to focus on serving and pleasing Krishna. And the best way we can develop our spiritual consciousness is a very simple thing. I was reading it this morning. What is it, Merle? We're reading it out this morning. Study Srimad Bhagavatam. Study Srimad Bhagavatam. Every single day. Study Srimad. Even if you just read one verse and purport a day, study Srimad Bhagavatam. Discuss it amongst your friends. Whenever there's a class on the Bhagavatam, attend the class. Listen to classes on Bhagavatam. If you get a chance, speak from the Bhagavatam. This is the quickest way in this age of destroying material desires completely. Okay? Thank you all so much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to come back here again and try to render some service to you all. I find you all very inspiring devotees. And just keep going in Krishna consciousness. And next time I come back, hopefully it'll be cleaner. I'm not saying it's not clean, but there's always room for improvement. That's the nature of this material world. There's always room for improvement. So.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It's so kind of you.
No problems. And just try to make this building look different from everywhere else in Wally Range.
That means even the outside should be.
Outside the garden, could do with a coat of paint, fix things up, make it look paka. Make it look like, when, like everywhere Prabhupada went, he said, wherever I go, all I hear is the sounds of construction and the smell of fresh paint. Because before Prabhupada came, they would always make the place spick and span. And he liked it. He liked it. He liked to see devotees making that endeavor to please him by making the place always look fantastic. So just keep that in mind. Just think like Prabhupada's coming next week. What are we going to do? Sorry to interrupt.
So, many might not realize that Prabhu is the minister of ISKCON. Thank you for giving us the mission. Next time when you come, we make sure there is some smell of pen. We'll like some construction going on outside. Or maybe we can offer you maybe some temple when you come back.
Well, this temple's nice. I mean, when the community grows bigger, then obviously that will manifest. But this temple's nice. The thing is, like, whatever you have in Krishna's service, look after it. Like, value it as Krishna's temple. And if we have this, even if it's hard to connect as Krishna's temple, value it as Prabhupada's temple. And if we have this consciousness, then there's no question of letting it deteriorate. I mean, so many times I visit temples, and the place, we were just in New York, and the place just looks so neglected. So it shouldn't look neglected. Like the whole of Wally Range, there's only, like we were walking around yesterday, there's only a few places around here that actually look nice. Like you go down here, you turn down the street here, there's only that house on the other side looks nice. Everything else looks like no one lives there, and they haven't lived there for 20 years, but there are people living there. Or the house next door. Looks like no one lives there. Looks like a steptoe and son. Maybe you know that, right? Steptoe. Yeah.
This house here,
Yeah.
we might buy it later.
But
We might buy it.
but just because we represent Prabhupada, let's represent Prabhupada in every way, right? And just make him proud of ISKCON Manchester.
Next program again, of course, is on Friday. He said Dan and Maharaj will be coming, but may or may not come because we got conflicting invitations to come. It's confirmed?
Thursday, the program, so
Friday is definitely the program. So Friday is the program in temple, probably the class, Sunday we can avoid it. Sunday, it's a normal Sunday program, but we are launching the Sunday Harinam on Friday. So might as well come. And the team of Sutta Prabhu and Sri Kavacha is also will be in temple during that weekend. So there might be a lot of activity happening. And the devotee will be there for fixing our instruments. The whole weekend is quite busy, so don't blink, otherwise you miss the fun.
No blinking allowed.
And Holy Mama Prabhu, we are so grateful to you.
He's much more than a driver. He's my very dear friend. He inspires me so much in Krishna consciousness.
Holy Mama Prabhu is such a wonderful devotee serving Radharani Rameshwar in London. So he said Radharani Rameshwar, all our deities in the ISKCON, they are expansion of Radharani Rameshwar. And he is the Pujari of Radharani Rameshwar. So we feel like Radharani Rameshwar.
And all the Pujaris in ISKCON are expansions of Murli.
I would agree with you.
Perhaps I need to expand some more for Joe.
So we feel very, very grateful to you for taking the time out and doing this. Thank you so much.
Very nice to be here. We're trying to be here. We'd like to come.
maybe we can invite again, for some.
Yeah, we're speaking earlier.
We got some dates in mind. So I also request all of you to please show our gratitude to Holy Manohar Prabhu that we done loud chanting.
Haribo! Haribo! Haribo!
Thank you so much for the hope to see you very soon. And you as a mission coach, maybe not money, everything.
But just whenever we're here, I mean, when I come next year, I'll probably be teaching in Bhaktivedanta Manor, so I'll just be too busy to come up. But anyone who wants to learn deity worship, especially the puja, how to do arati, bowl dropping, things like that, then we'll do a training course down there where you get practical experience, not just like theory watching someone else, but actually you get assessed on how to do it. And last year it was really good. We had 20 something.
I think we advertised.
But so you're all welcome to come. So it goes over 4 weekends. I don't know, how long does it take to get to London from here?
6 hours. 2 hours on the train.
2 hours in central London, but it is minor than this. If it is minor, then it is minimum 3.5 hours. Minimum.
4 hours.
But I think you should go to the central London mountain. So should you should do it. We can come in 2 hours there. People marking that garden outside.
Well, I mean, one possibility we're thinking of exploring was doing it in Leicester.
Yeah,
Leicester is out there.
they've got space there. A lot of logistics to work out, but Leicester or possibility.
Because that way we can access the Midlands here and maybe up north as well. But the whole idea is just to try and facilitate training as many devotees as possible.
Or by any chance, if there's a lot of interest in the north side, might be good here, if you want all the devotees from Nottingham, York,
Yeah, well, I'm definitely open to that, but you know, it's a matter of facilities that are required because.
It's quite an extensive course, so to speak.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's needed in it.
Yeah, and we need usually 4 spaces to do assessment in.
You have to perhaps be technical to see what it involves.
Yeah, because you got 2 rooms, you could use that room and the room above, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to different options.
Yeah.
The more we can facilitate.
What's your maximum? I've
This
got
room,
a speaker as well.
the speaker will be in moderate space, and I think about 40 people can easily take the seat. It's on the floor, the chair is on the floor.
Yeah. Because there's no deities, we could use this room also.
Then we have a bedroom as well, and we have a kind of lighting between windows.
Yeah, it's not a matter of the quantity because usually we would only do up to about 30 maximum. Because the thing is, like every devotee then does assessment. So you know, like if we have 5 facilitators, which is what we did last time, we can assess 32 devotees, which takes each assessment period takes 2 hours.
Yeah, it took 2 days.
Oh, you should start this.
That's right, you were there. Yeah. It took 2 full days to do the assessment with 20.
You've got a very good idea there when it's all about. You give it good,
Yeah. So you know what's involved in the facility we require, you know. And that was kind of like, you know, we want to try and improve upon that. So, you know, you need places for washing paraphernalia and all sorts of stuff. So it's not a small endeavor.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Mahapasade.